What if the reason you keep repeating the same mistakes has almost nothing to do with willpower, discipline, or even intelligence, and everything to do with a hidden psychological system in your brain that is running without your awareness? Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on one of the most fascinating and underappreciated mechanisms in all of human psychology. And once you understand how it works, you are going to see yourself and the people around you in a completely new light. Here is something that almost everyone can relate to. You make a mistake, you recognize it, you tell yourself that you are going to do things differently, and then somehow, weeks or months later, there you are making that exact same mistake again. Maybe it is a relationship pattern. Maybe it is a habit you cannot seem to shake. Maybe it is a goal that you keep starting and stopping. If you have ever looked in the mirror and thought, "Why do I keep doing this?" you are asking exactly the right question, and the answer is more empowering than you might expect. To understand what is actually happening, we need to talk about how the brain is designed to correct mistakes in the first place. Because here is the thing, your brain is working the way it is supposed to. It is not weak. It is actually an extraordinarily sophisticated system. But like any system, it needs the right inputs to produce the right outputs. And in our modern world, some of those inputs have been quietly disrupted. Your brain uses two primary tools to get back on track after a misstep. Think of it like driving a car from one city to another. You need two things, a map and fuel in the tank. Without the map, you wander. Without the fuel, you go nowhere. Most people struggling to break old patterns are missing one or both of these, and they don't even realize it. Let's start with the fuel, because this is where things get genuinely fascinating from a psychological standpoint. Your brain is home to different emotional systems, and they serve very different purposes. You have more primitive emotional circuits, things like fear, anger, and anxiety that are ancient and deeply wired. These are survival level responses that even the simpler animals experience. But then you have a more sophisticated layer of emotional processing, one that is deeply connected to self-awareness, reflection, responsibility, and relationships. And this is where emotions like guilt and shame often emerge. Now, the word shame carries a lot of baggage, so stay with me here, because understanding what shame and guilt actually are, what they were designed to do, is one of the most clarifying insights in all of behavioral psychology. Guilt is not your enemy. Guilt is actually one of the most powerful built-in guidance systems the human mind possesses. And the reason guilt hurts is the same reason hunger hurts, or thirst hurts, or physical discomfort hurts. Pain is the brain's way of saying, "Hey, something needs to change here. Please pay attention." Now think about how simple it is with physical needs. When you're hungry, you feel discomfort. You eat, and the discomfort goes away. The discomfort was the messenger driving you towards the right action. Guilt works the same way, except it is a social signal rather than a physical one. Humans are deeply communal beings. We were built for community, for accountability, for genuine relationship with others. When we behave in ways that fall short of who we want to be, or who we know we should be, guilt arises to say, "Hey, adjust your course." And historically, this worked beautifully. In tight-knit communities and families, people could not easily avoid the social consequences of their choices. That gentle but consistent pressure kept the feedback loop intact. You felt the discomfort, you were motivated to change, you made the change, the discomfort eased, and you grew. The emotion did exactly what it was supposed to do. But here's where modern life has introduced a fascinating and somewhat challenging wrinkle. For the first time in human history, we have a nearly unlimited number of ways to escape discomfort without actually addressing the thing that is causing it. If something in your real life feels painful or embarrassing, you can instantly redirect your attention almost anywhere. That option to escape without resolving is new, and the brain, which evolved in an environment where social accountability was essentially unavoidable, was not designed with this level of escape access in mind. When we avoid the discomfort of guilt rather than moving toward it with correction, something important gets short-circuited. The feedback loop breaks, and instead of guilt doing its job, motivating growth, it just lingers as a low-grade chronic weight, never resolving, never producing change. And that is actually how avoidance creates more of the very feeling that you are trying to get away from. You end up stuck in a cycle where the discomfort remains, but the growth never comes. The path forward is genuinely hopeful, and here is why. Because the research is clear on this. The people who make real, lasting progress in their lives, the ones who actually break old patterns and build better ones, share a common trait. They do not run from the discomfort of their mistakes. They turn toward it and they use it. Programs like Alcoholics Anonymous have understood this for decades. One of their most powerful steps involves something called making amends, where participants go back and directly face the people that they have wronged. They stop running from the guilt and start engaging with it honestly. And that engagement is precisely what unlocks change. When you stop avoiding guilt and start being accountable to it, it transforms from a weight into a fuel source. There is an important distinction worth making here, though. What we are talking about is healthy, functional guilt, the kind that points you toward growth and reconciliation. But toxic shame is something entirely different. Toxic shame is when someone is made to feel fundamentally unworthy no matter what they do, where no amount of effort or change ever seems to be enough. That kind is not a motivator. It is a wound. What we are talking about here is the healthy version, the kind that says, I did not live up to my values in that situation, and I have the capacity to do better. Now let's talk about the map, because fuel without direction still gets you lost. The brain has a remarkable ability to learn from past experiences and build mental models of how to approach future situations more skillfully. Psychologists sometimes call this the counterfactual thinking, the brain's way of replaying what happened and imagining what could have gone differently. You have probably experienced this late at night when a memory bubbles up and your mind starts replaying it over and over again, thinking about what you should have said or done. That is your brain actively trying to build a better model for the next time. It is a genuinely brilliant piece of cognitive machinery. But here's the critical insight. This mental modeling system needs real-world data to work well. It needs the actual experience. You cannot purely think your way to growth. You have to live your way there. And many people who are trying to improve their lives fall into a pattern of consuming more and more information, reading, researching, analyzing, and theorizing, all which can feel productive, while never actually stepping into the experiences that would give their brain the real data it needs to build accurate models. Think about learning any complex skill. A student who only reads about it without ever practicing will always lag behind someone who gets out there, makes attempts, learns from those attempts, adjusts, and tries again. The doing creates the data. The brain then uses that data to refine the approach. Each iteration builds a more accurate internal map. And the wonderful news is that you do not have to consciously manage all of that. Your brain will do the computational work automatically once you give it what it needs. Your job is simply to show up, engage, and then reflect honestly on the experience. The full picture then looks like this. Real growth requires both the emotional fuel and the practical roadmap working in harmony. The emotion without the action is just suffering. The thinking without the experience is just spinning. But when you face your discomfort honestly and use it as a motivation to step into new experiences that give your brain real information to work with, something genuinely remarkable starts to happen. Progress becomes natural. The brain starts updating its models faster and faster, and life starts moving in the right direction. If you find yourself stuck, asking yourself 2 questions can help immediately. First, have I been spending most of my time thinking about changing rather than actually doing something that creates new experience and data? Second, when the discomfort or guilt arises in my life, am I moving toward it with accountability and honesty, or am I finding ways to escape from it without resolving the underlying issue? These are not easy questions, but they are incredibly clarifying ones. And the simple fact that you are here, curious about your own psychology and genuinely wanting to grow, already puts you ahead of most. If you are curious about human behavior, personal growth, and understanding why people do what they do, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Here at Psychology Thinkers, we explore the hidden forces that shape our thoughts, emotions, decisions, and behaviors, both in ourselves and in others. And if you would like to go deeper, be sure and watch the playlist below, where you will learn how these hidden forces influence everyday life and why people make a lot more sense than they first appear.